What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punchboard Party. My name is Daniel, and in today's video we're talking about board game design. I have a couple of design ideas to share with you, and I would love for you to share your ideas with me. Now, I want to tell you that this video idea came from a mystery package that I got in the mail. This arrived on my door probably a month or so, a month and a half ago, maybe. And at first, Sarah and I didn't know what to do with it. I was hoping that it wasn't a human thumb. And it wasn't. It was actually a real treat. So a fan of the channel, a subscriber, they put their own little game design in here. So it's a card game called Skirmish, and I won't go too much into the details of the mechanisms of the game because it's not my design idea to share, but I do want to share a little bit about it. So the main thrust of this design idea came from this guy watching my videos and getting inspired to get back into board games again, which I think for me was a huge blessing. To just be a part of someone's kind of reintegration back into the hobby. So I'm just grateful for that alone. And then he started working on this game idea that he had, but he got discouraged because as he was getting more into board games again, he ran across Star Realms and he felt like his design was a lot like Star Realms, so he kind of shelved it. And then he was watching one of my videos about Red Rising, where I talk about Jamie Stegmaier's design process a little bit and how Red Rising was intimately inspired by Fantasy Realms. And this guy thought, well, if kind of a big name board game designer can make a game that's similar to another game, then why can't I?
Said, I can do that. I can do that.
And it inspired him to pursue his design idea. And so we got Skirmish in printed form. So it's a really nice kind of product to just sort of play test with and this kind of thing. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. That's why I thought this video really needed to be made, because this channel is all about the joy of board games. And part of that is the joy of board game design, because every game that's on my shelves here started out as an idea. It started out as a prototype, and it became something that tons of people get to enjoy and experience and have a lot of fun with on a regular basis. And so if people aren't taking the chance and turning their ideas into a physical thing that we can test out and have fun with, we're not going to get what we get here. And so this video is an encouragement to anyone who's ever had a board game idea to take it to the next step. Myself included, I have ideas for games all the time, and they only ever get to paper. They never get further than this. But that might change. I don't know, but I just wanted to share with you my ideas today, just to take away the mystique away from board game design and realizing that together we can all participate in this awesome hobby. So for myself, when I first moved to London, right away I got connected with a game group, and one of the guys in that group was Sen Foong Lim, and he's designed Junk Art and Belfour and Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time, and Mind MGMT. He's a pretty prolific designer. And so I got to see board games in their prototype form. Like I got to see Kingdom Rush just sitting out on his kitchen table, made up of construction paper and just like written out grids, like nothing fancy, with all sorts of just kind of extra pieces from all sorts of other games being substituted in for this prototype. And you're just like, whoa, so these games that we see on our shelves start out as just scraps of paper and components from other games or whatever. And it's just cool to see that. But I share all this just as encouragement, like I said, because this guy, he's at home playtesting with his wife, just kind of trying to make something work. Sen, who has some designs ahead of him, he's sitting at home with his friends trying to make something work. There's not a whole lot that differentiates the experience other than the actual getting out there, the doing it, the taking a chance, the putting rules to paper and components to table. What inspired me about Skirmish was that someone just took a chance on themselves and made a game, wrote out a little rule sheet, put it in a box, and sent it to me and said, hey, I just want you to know that you sort of inspired this in some way. Check it out. Maybe you'll like it. And Sarah and I checked it out. This has a really cool thing going on. I was really impressed with Skirmish, and it was a lot more fleshed out than I expected it to be. And it had a core mechanism that I really enjoyed and I think has some legs.
Yo, Adrian! I did it!
So the Skirmish idea and playing it, it just put into my head again like, oh yeah, I love creating and I love designing new game ideas. So why don't I take a crack? So when I was thinking about making this video and talking board game design, I wanted to just show you what's possible to come up with half-baked just for a video like this, just kind of sitting in a chair for half an hour and thinking up some stuff and saying, hey, here's just throwing some stuff to the wall. And maybe one of you can take this and run with it. Maybe it will inspire you to throw an idea at the wall back at me. And maybe it'll turn into something, maybe it won't. But there is joy to be had just in the process. And it is really amazing and fun experience. So I have 2 ideas to share with you if you want to stick around and listen to them. So I'll show these. It was really, really rough just with a crayon. I just sat down and scribbled these out just to give you an idea about what I was thinking about. But the first idea that I had when I sat down, because this is how I do it, right? When I'm thinking about maybe designing a board game, I'm just looking for a game that I want to play. When I'm looking to buy a new board game, I'm always thinking about something and then trying to find a game that's like that. And so why not just design what I'm looking for myself? And so that's where I always start. I always think, okay, what do I want to be playing right now? And then an idea, a mechanism, or a theme will come to mind. I'll work with that. So this first design idea started about a week ago at our last game night. We played Atlantis Rising, which is this really cool cooperative game where its core mechanism is worker placement. And it's really neat to see beloved Euro mechanisms that are used primarily in competitive games and seeing those mechanisms used in a cooperative way. And in Atlantis Rising, it works really well. And so I thought, what about a card drafting cooperative experience? In my head, I was like, that's brilliant. What a brilliant idea. Card drafting cooperative game. I am so smart. And I don't know if it's been done before. I wouldn't be surprised if it has. That's probably not as brilliant as I'm thinking. But basically, let's run through it. So I thought about a spy espionage theme where all the players are undercover spies or undercover cops or something along those lines.
If you're a rat.
And they're trying to complete certain objectives, and maybe there's a dockyard location, and there's like a factory, and there's like a business strip, casino area, just all the kind of crime drama locations just around the board. And then you have secret objectives that you're trying to fulfill. And because you're all secret agents, and you're undercover, you're not communicating with one another. So there's no communication across the table about what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, but you're all wanting one another to succeed. You all need to succeed in your mission. If one person fails, the whole group fails. And so these are locations that you can visit, and at these locations, each location will do something. I didn't flesh that out. That doesn't matter to me as much as what the kind of core mechanisms are. But basically it's going to be a card game where there's going to be cards, and they're going to do different things at these locations. So maybe it's weapons, maybe it's goods, maybe it's things that you're selling, maybe it's things that you're using, whatever the case may be, and you can use them in different ways at the different locations. But the core thing that's going on is everyone starts with a hand of 10 cards, and you are going to whittle the hand down to 5 cards. Those 5 cards is what the players are going to end up with to use as they go about trying to fulfill their objective. So as you're doing the draft, you are trying to parse together what your opponents are doing and trying to end them up with cards that they're going to find helpful. And then you're going to discard the other cards into a center tableau. And I'm stealing this next mechanism straight from Archaeology, the Phil Walker Harding game, where you basically have a tableau of cards and you can just trade cards with the middle tableau, And so if you see a card there that you like, you can just play one of your cards there and take it. That's what a player can do on their turn if they don't have any cards that are going to work towards their objective. But if they do that, then they gain some heat. They get some suspicion on themselves, and each player will have kind of like a suspicion track. And when you cross certain thresholds, then maybe some of the bad guys will turn on you and try to get rid of you, and then you'll have kind of a mini objective to get rid of them first, quietly and discreetly. Or maybe other objectives will pile on top of a player so that they can get the heat off of them, so that they can kind of earn their trust back. It's something that you're going to have to do, but you don't want to do it too often. So it's this whole game of drafting in such a way that people end up with what they need, but if they don't end up with what they need is still available at the center of the table, becomes at a cost. And so that was my first idea. I don't know what it would be called, and I don't know if it would work.
Pooh, are you sure this is going to work?
That's the thing with these ideas. They come and they sound really good in your head, and you start writing them down, and they look pretty good, but then you actually play it out, and that draft might not work so well. It might not have the control that I envision it having in getting the right cards into people's hands. I think it could be really interesting. I think it could be fun. So that was one idea that I had. The next idea I had started with thinking about nobles in kind of a Victoria era on tiles. So these nice chunky tiles. And so this idea started, which is envisioning some components first off. And so then I was thinking, okay, this would probably be more abstract in a game, and I thought about maybe like a world map. And then I thought about the life dial, you know, the game of life. So really taking it outside of hobby games to mass market games. But just, what if there was this kind of spinner, but all it was a rondelle that you could turn, and there's like maybe 5 of them across a map. And what you do with these tiles is the tiles is a picture of a noble and a color and a number. And the colors represent the kind of house that this noble comes from, and the number represents kind of their hierarchy in the house. You put these noble tiles onto these rondelles so that they can kind of spin around, and on the outside of the rondelle, there's different kind of bonuses, like points and money, and maybe sliding the noble tile track, or maybe sliding the card track. And basically what you're trying to do here is there's a pool of dice that get rolled at the beginning of a round, and then you draft dice, and you're going to draft 2 dice, and the dice are going to be colors, and the numbers 1, 2, and 3. You can pair up your dice, and so if you pair up your dice and spend both of them at the same time, you can move a color dial that corresponds to one of the colors of the dice, and then you move that dial a number of spaces corresponding to the other dice and what number is on that. And so you kind of pair them up, and you can rotate the dial. And then there would be another mechanism that would allow you to score. And so this would be, I'm getting lost in the explanation, but basically this is a game where nobody owns a particular color, and it's kind of like a stock game, really, because you're trying to raise the stock and the income of these different houses. And what the card row is the cards are cards that you can collect that will be like scoring cards that will trigger scoring conditions, where it'll like this color rondelle and this color rondelle activate, and so then those houses get that number of points and they boost up, and then you might have another card that will be like cash in this house, and you'll get money and points corresponding to how far up on the track those houses are, and that kind of a thing. So nobody owns a particular house, but you're just trying to manipulate where they are using this dice drafting to then manipulate the rondelles to move up the houses on money and prestige tracks, and then trying to use these cards to kind of cash them out. And so you can use dice together, like I said, or you can also just spend 1 dice to take a tile from the tile row and add it to a rondelle, taking another one out and kind of discarding it. And then you can also spend dice of a particular number to take that numbered noble out of a rondelle and then keep it. And then maybe there's majority scoring as well happening there. So you're collecting certain colors of nobles to get a majority in certain areas based on cards that you've been collecting. Again, a lot of the mechanisms are not fleshed out. I want to stress that these are just half-baked ideas. I just wanted to share with kind of things I've been spitballing to give you the freedom and permission to spitball 2.
Me with the problem.
I want you to spitball your ideas. Throw some things out there. Just have fun with it. It's been a blast for me just investigating these couple of ideas. I want to know what you've been thinking in terms of board game design, what you've been coming up with. Thank you to the designer of Skirmish for putting yourself out there, for creating a neat little game. And continue working on it and whittle it down. I'd love to help you with it if you want. Board games, such a cool space to be in, and such a cool place to get together with friends and just work on ideas and have fun with ideas. And there's so much joy to be had in playing games and in designing games. And so I'm not a board game designer, but I am, right? I haven't been published, or I don't, you can't buy a game of mine. And none of my games have even gotten to like a really fleshed out prototype. But in my heart, I'm still a board game designer. And I've gotten so much fun out of that aspect of the hobby without being too serious about it. So what are your board game design ideas? Let me know down below. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Thank you to Skirmish Designer. Thank you all board game designers for making your ideas a reality. Okay, party people. If you enjoyed this kind of diversion of content, please let me know down in the comments below if you like these kind of discussion topics or just spitballing design ideas. If you want to see more videos of me talking about board game design ideas just for the fun of it, please let me know down below. And until next time, party people, have the best day.